On what seemed like an ordinary day, in the peaceful, calm surroundings of Minnesota, a ghastly tragedy unfolded that sent shockwaves through the community, causing us to question the very essence of maternal love. Julissa Thaler, a 29-year-old mother originally from the quiet town of Spring Park, was convicted of first-degree murder. The victim was her very own 6-year-old son, Eli Hart. A question that hangs heavy in the air is, what circumstances could drive a mother to commit such a monstrous act against her own offspring? As we dissect this soul-stirring story, we extend an invitation to you, our watchers, to explore this heart-rending narrative with us. The seeds of this calamity were sown when Thaler, a woman bearing the heavy weight of a troubled past, etched by mental illness and substance misuse, regained full custody of her son Eli a mere 10 days prior to this horrifying event. Prior to this, police had responded to Thaler's Farmington home 21 times in 10 months. She was arrested for stealing drugs from a health clinic and had to find a new drug testing facility because of bizarre behavior. She was presenting with psychosis and hearing voices telling her to kill herself, court documents now show. Thaler had also lost custody of Eli twice, first in October of 2020 and then for most of 2021. The questions that arise here are, how was she able to regain custody despite her bleak history? Was it a grievous oversight by the child welfare workers, or a glaring failure of the system? We ask you to reflect on our current child custody laws. Are they efficient enough to ensure the safety of our children? This horrendous story took an even darker turn when Thaler acquired ammunition from a local store. She asked the clerk for something that would blow the biggest hole. A request that now rings chillingly ominous. Shortly after this purchase, she allegedly went to a shooting range with a friend to learn how to fire the gun. Eli Hart's tender life was brutally extinguished in a car parked in the parking lot of Lake Minnetonka Regional Park, a place usually filled with the echoes of childhood laughter, not the silent despair of a life abruptly ended. Thaler's vehicle, a stark contrast to the tranquil backdrop, concealed the gruesome reality in its trunk. What could be the driving force behind this act? Was it a twisted manifestation of love? A consequence of her psychological struggles? Or an even darker motive? Or did she even actually do it? A cloud of uncertainty hangs over Thaler's defense. No testimony was given by Thaler, and no witnesses were called on her behalf. Her lawyer, Brian Leary, suggested that although Thaler was involved in Eli's death, she wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. He argued that there wasn't any definitive proof that directly linked her to the killing. However, the circumstantial evidence against Thaler was formidable. Cell phone data placed her at the crime scene, and Eli's DNA was found on her clothes. Dan Allard, the assistant Hennepin County attorney, expressed his perplexity. If she didn't kill Eli, why didn't she call for help when she was stopped by the police? If she really didn't shoot him, why didn't she tell the police when pulled over, "Oh my God, someone shot my son, he's in the trunk, help me"? The fallout from this heartbreaking event extends beyond Julissa Thaler. Torrey Hart, Eli's father, who is a manager at a bait and tackle shop, also shares the deep pain. Torrey, who loved his son dearly and had filed a petition seeking custody shortly before the killing, described Eli as everything to me. He blamed the child welfare system, and has filed a lawsuit claiming they ignored warning signs. As you navigate the layers of this complex and emotionally charged case, with whom does your sympathy lie? Thaler's past, marred by a history of drug misuse, bizarre behavior, and repeated loss of custody, paints a deeply worrying picture. Do these signs indicate that the system failed Eli? Or do they serve as a testament to the complexity of human behavior and the challenges in predicting it? Upon regaining custody of Eli, Julissa's behavior took a turn for the worse. Robert Pickerainen, an ex-boyfriend, testified that Thaler and Eli had a heated argument the night before the incident. She was hitting him, he testified. Then Eli was hitting her, and they were fighting. Which leads to the question, how does an adult even get into a heated argument with a 6-year-old? That alone seems like a clear indicator that Thaler was not fit to regain custody of her young son. Thaler left their apartment with the recently purchased shotgun and little Eli. The next morning, she was found driving a car with a completely worn-out tire, the rim scraping the asphalt, and a shattered rear windshield. Can this behavior be chalked up to insanity, a blatant disregard for the law, or the conscious actions of a guilt-ridden mind? Despite the compelling evidence against her and a plea deal on the table, Thaler maintained her innocence, refusing to plead guilty to the charge of second-degree murder. Was this the defiance of a woman wrongfully accused, or the obstinate denial of a mother refusing to accept the enormity of her actions? The court proceedings didn't take long, only a few days. During Eli's dad's testimony, Hart said that his son was popular at his elementary school and dreamed of becoming a firefighter. He was always really happy, outgoing, always full of energy. Always, Hart said. During the trial, jurors heard about how the upbeat, well-liked kindergartner spent his final hours. Eli's former foster mother, Nikita Kronberg, said that the boy meant the world to so many people. He was so kind and amazing, always had a smile on his face. He made friends so easily and wanted to explore all the time. Eli's stepmother, Josephine Josephson, said in a victim impact statement for herself and Tori Hart that the pain is so deep, you can't breathe. With so many people that loved him, it is heartbreaking that he ended up with the person that would fail to protect him mentally, emotionally, and physically, and in fact, would end his life. The verdict was ultimately pronounced. Thaler was found guilty. In fact, it only took the jurors less than 2 hours of deliberating before finding Julissa Thaler, the 29-year-old Spring Park woman with a history of mental illness and drug abuse, guilty of first-degree murder in the death of her own son, Eli Hart.
Ms. Thaler, you have a right to speak this morning if you'd like. You don't have any obligation to speak, but if you'd like to choose to speak, now is the time to do it.
Yes, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'm innocent. You all. You're garbage. That's all, Your Honor.
Ms. Thaler, I don't know that that's appropriate here.
As Eli's father and other loved ones grapple with the indescribable void left by his loss, we are left to wonder, how does this verdict affect the family and community that are still left with a gaping hole where Eli used to be? As we confront the darkness of this tale, we urge you, our audience, to reflect on your thoughts about this case. Does it compel you to reconsider our society's approach to mental health, child welfare, and the legal system? Could we have prevented this catastrophe, or was it an inevitable outcome of a sequence of unfortunate events? We eagerly await your thoughts and discussions. In the aftermath of this devastating tragedy, it's imperative that we strive to learn from its cruel lessons. The case of Julissa Thaler and Eli Hart emphasizes the pressing need for robust mental health support, vigilant child welfare services, and an empathetic, informed public. As a society, we must ensure that vulnerable individuals receive the help they require before their situations escalate to such terrifying extremes. Let us ensure that Eli's life was not lost in vain, but rather serves as a rallying cry. We urge each one of you to educate yourselves about mental health issues, advocate for stronger child welfare systems, and extend compassion to those in distress. By doing so, we can work towards a society where no child falls through the cracks and no parent loses themselves in the mire of their personal struggles. Eli's story must serve as a stark reminder that our collective actions can transform tragedies into catalysts for meaningful change.